Do. Good morning. I'm just waiting for. Hey, there's the alert. It says the booking office is live. I'm starting just slightly early here, folks. Oh, and it's time. Okay. Well, hello, everybody. It is Mike. Hopefully here with you. In the booking office, it is 8:05 in the a.m. Eastern Time. And you know what that means. So here we are, folks, in the office. And we are here to answer John the Body Johnson's booking challenge that he has laid out to me. Now, last week, I kind of told you what the challenge was and who I have and some general thoughts. And I'm just going to do a real quick review here. So the challenge is this. I have to book 1991 WWF. Not their best year. But I've lost the entire babyface roster. And in their place, I have the entire WCW babyface roster. So that means at the moment, first things first, all my champions are heels. My baby faces are Beautiful Bobby Eaton, Lex Luger, Sting, Ron Simmons, The Junkyard Dog, Flying Brian Pillman, Wildfire Tommy Rich, Z-Man Tom Zink, Brad Armstrong, the Steiner Brothers, the Rock and Roll Express, the Young Pistols, Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong, and Mark and Chris Youngblood, the Renegade Warriors. I also inherited El Gigante, but my first official decision as the head booker of the World Wrestling Federation has been to wish El Gigante the best in his future endeavors. The bottom line is he was not incredibly talented. He has zero charisma. Even if you put him with a mouthpiece, it's not going to end well. So, as they proved in the WWF, but even putting myself back in the 1991 times mindset, as I watched the WCW product in '91. I didn't like El Gigante then. So, I don't think this is the benefit of hindsight telling me that he's crap. I think this is my own informed decision from when I was, 10. Then we have the Brooklyn Brawler, Haku, Dino Bravo, the Model Rick Martel, the Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, Mr. Perfect, Earthquake, Sergeant Slaughter, the Mountie, the Undertaker, Randy Savage, Power and Glory, Paul Roman Hercules, the Powers of Pain, Warlord and Barbarian, the Orient Express, Pat Tanaka and Kato, who is Paul Diamond under a hood, Demolition, Smash and Crush, and Axe, although Axe is predominantly a manager at this point, and the Nasty Boys. That's my heel roster. At some point before I take over the book, Sergeant Slaughter, sometime during the first week of January at house shows, Sergeant Slaughter has won the World Heavyweight title from the Ultimate Warrior in Peoria, supposedly. Power and Glory won the World Tag Team titles in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. From the Hart Foundation, Mr. Perfect is already the Intercontinental Champion. So, my task has been to book from book from January 1st all the way through WrestleMania 8 in Indianapolis, Indiana in 1992. So I've got a book from January 91 all the way through April of 92. Now, we're going to do this sort of, not quite big show by big show, but that's more or less the way it's going to work. The Royal Rumble takes place in Miami, Florida, at the Miami Arena on Sunday, January 19th. Now, I announced the card last week. As they say in the wrestling business, card subject to change. I actually did change, I think, one or two things on the card from what I originally announced. That's okay. I had different ideas, and we're going to take a look here at the plans and see where we're going here. So the card, I'm not going to take you week by week through the TVs because, frankly, there were 5 TV shows a week in the WWF at this point in time. You have Superstars, you have Wrestling Challenge, you have Wrestling Spotlight. That's your A, B, and C shows in syndication, respectively. You have All American, which is Sundays on USA. And then you have Prime Time, which is the cable flagship show on Monday nights, the precursor to Monday Night Raw. Although it was usually um, taped footage from various arenas and then a lot of studio segments with whomever. Um, in 91, I think it was probably still Heenan and Monsoon. I could be wrong. Um, Superstars is realistically the A show because it's the show that ends up in syndication in all the major markets. With Wrestling Challenge filling in the second spot if they get a second clearance in certain cities. Spotlight doesn't get seen in a hell of a lot of places, but that's why it's mostly a highlight show. What we're going to do is I'm going to basically go through the card and give you the build up, and then anybody that's getting a push on TV for stuff later, and then we're going to talk about the Rumble itself as far as the results. So the Royal Rumble card looks like this. We're going to have the Orient Express with Mr. Fuji versus the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. And that's going to be our opening contest. Realistically, we don't need a lot of build to this. This match is probably announced the prime time before, sometime the week before the Rumble is when we'll announce the match. Putting ourselves back in 1991 for a second, realistically in 91, you only announced the top 2, maybe 3 matches well in advance to build the angles, and then other matches on the undercard would be announced maybe 1 or 2 weeks in advance, thus giving more TV time, more development to your larger angles. All we really need to do in this is we need to see these 2 teams winning going into the Rumble. That's all we have to have. So I've got 3 weeks of TV before the Rumble. So basically, expect to see the Rock and Roll Express on Superstars, on Challenge, on Prime Time, winning matches. Same for the Orient Express. They're never on the same episodes. So, like, you'll never, if the Rock and Roll Express are on the first week of Superstars, the Orient Express are on the first week of Challenge. If the Rock and Rolls are on Prime Time, the Orient Express is not. Maybe they're on All American. But basically, we just need to see both teams racking up wins for 3 weeks, and the week before we'll announce the match, and maybe on one of the go home shows, maybe we get a promo out of the Rock and Roll Express, so like a 30-second spot. They used to do these 30-second inserts during matches where, the Orient Express, the Orient Express will be facing the new team to the WWF of Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express at the Royal Rumble. Let's hear these words from Ricky and Robert. And then boom, here comes the little insert, and they do a 30-second thing, and it pops out. Maybe we get one of those on each side on the last week. If we announce the match on, say, Primetime or All American, we definitely would get that. And that's all the build that match really needs. Because this is the start of what will become an ongoing rivalry. The Orient Express were a very good tag team, and I'm going to use them in certain ways as the Rock and Roll Express, or as the Midnight Express to the Rock and Rolls. So that's part of the idea. So we're going to see these 2 teams work a good bit through the year. The next match on the card, second match on the Royal Rumble card, and I'm not counting dark matches, folks. The second match on the card is going to be Dino Bravo with his manager Jimmy Hart. It could have been Frenchie Martin at the time. If it is, no, Jimmy Hart is better. Versus the man called Sting. Or just, this is Sting. Sting, blonde hair, neon face paint, surfer dude. This match, Sting is obviously a main event player in WCW. What I don't want to do is ram him down everybody's throat. I don't want to bring him in the front door and make him, boom, top guy off the get. I want him to earn it. Because I think if we see Sting slowly go up the card, then when he becomes the main event guy, the crowd's more invested. There's a more of a feeling of, yes, he belongs here. He's our guy. We've watched him grow. It's the path to success, really, that WCW followed, that Jim Crockett followed, because Sting starts as the, first he's a TV champion and as a dalliance going after the tag titles before he ever gets to Flair. We see him go through phases and work his way up. So we're going to do the same sort of thing here. Again, this match doesn't need a whole lot of build. It is probably announced either the week of the Rumble or early or late the week before. So it's either late week 2 or early week 3. But I do want Sting to come off as a player. So week 1, we're not even going to see Sting in the ring. Week 1, we're going to get promo packages coming soon. This is Sting with the music and him working out, and just one of those WWE hype packages. Seeing Sting in that larger than life persona. And him getting ready to debut in the WWE. And he debuts on week 2, and we probably see him a couple of times. He's probably on Superstars, he's probably on Primetime. And we'll see him getting some good wins. Dino Bravo, week 1, we need to see Dino Bravo get a win. Maybe on one of the shows, Dino Bravo does a strongman exhibition. Just to get over that he is this strong, Canada's strongest man kind of guy. We want to get that across because we're going to be playing up Sting as a power guy too. And then after the match is announced, week 3, we probably see Sting in a match. Again, a good strong win. And then we would see possibly against the Brooklyn Brawler, because Brooklyn Brawler is kind of like the jobber with a name. Which, if we do go that route, that means somewhere on week 1 or 2 before Sting works the Brawler, I got to get the Brooklyn Brawler a win on TV somewhere, just so we can see that the Brooklyn Brawler can win a match. And we'll get some promo time out of Jimmy Hart. Who does this guy think he is, coming into our backyard? Yada, yada, yada. World Tag Team title match. At the Royal Rumble is Power and Glory, your World Tag Team Champions, taking on the Young Pistols, Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong. This match requires a little more build. We're probably announcing it on week 2, early. The Pistols are racking up wins during week 1. Power and Glory is not going to wrestle on week 1, and I don't think I really have them wrestle until the Primetime, the Go Home episode of Primetime, where I do have a specific main event in mind. But basically, Power and Glory on week 1, they're getting promos on the various shows, as is Sergeant Slaughter, putting over their title wins. Then when we get to week 2 before the Rumble, Power and Glory, we actually see them in a TV main event against the Renegade Warriors, getting a good win, which means somewhere the week prior, the Renegade Warriors picked up a win themselves. That is one thing you'll see as a theme here, is whenever I do have someone that I'm pushing in a TV main event against talent of consequence, that means I need to have that talent of consequence get a win prior to. Otherwise, they all they did was beat a job guy with a name. So we see that, and then we get, actually it's week 3 in my notes here. On All American we see, so this would be the Sunday of the Rumble, after we see the Young Pistols get another good win. That's when we announce the tag title match for the Rumble. So it'll be very early in week 3. And we'll get some promo after that. Primetime, the day after we announce that, we see Power and Glory and the Young Pistols in a 6-man tag main event on Primetime. We'll get to that. We'll get to that here in a minute. So then because it's part of another angle. Um, Sort of one of our flagship matches, which we're going to get out early. We need this particular match out there quickly because this is sort of one of my two main event type matches for the Rumble, other than the Rumble match itself. The Macho King Randy Savage with Sherry Martel goes one-on-one with Wildfire Tommy Rich. So week one, we wind up seeing both Tommy Rich and Randy Savage getting some wins on TV. In week two, we again see Tommy Rich winning on TV. We don't have to continuously see Randy Savage get wins because he's Randy Savage. He's already in the WWF. He's already established. So I've got to focus more on getting the WCW guys some wins and getting them over. So what we wind up doing here is we wind up having... we're going to wind up having, on primetime, week two, we're going to have Randy Savage get a strong win on primetime, and immediately after that match, so this angle would have been shot in an arena in this sequence. Right after the match, we have Tommy Rich up on the pedestal, cutting a promo with Mean Gene Okerlund. And the gist of the promo is, he's here to fight for the everyman. He is here to, fight for, he's just like the dock worker. He's just like the 9-to-5 guy working, punching a clock to get a paycheck. He's just like them. He doesn't go around lording himself over people. I'm not some kind of, big man. I ain't some kind of, flashy, think I'm better than you, king of the world. That ain't me, brother. I'm Wildfire Tommy Rich. I'm just a man. I'm just like you, and I'm going to come out here and I'm going to show all you people exactly what kind of man you can expect. And somewhere out of all of this, while he's trying to connect to the people, the fact that he makes a crack at the word king, Randy Savage is going to take notice of this promo as he's going back to the locker room, take objection to it. They'll do a little bit of back and forth, and then Savage is going to leave him laying, and we're going to just pound. He's going to leave Tommy Rich laying in a heap on the podium. So that's sort of our setup, and we've gotten some promos out of Savage showing his volatile nature and things like that later on in the week. But that's our big deal. That's where the angle or the match is going to get set up. On week 3, on Superstars, we're going to have Randy Savage on the Brother Love show. It's going to be him talking about how Tommy Rich is nothing and nobody. He's not concerned with Tommy Rich. He's handled his business with Tommy Rich. And blah, blah, blah. And they're going to replay the attack from primetime last week. On Interview with Mean Gene, that'll definitely get replayed on Spotlight. It maybe happens on Wrestling Challenge or All American. We have Mean Gene with Tommy Rich again. This time, just Sherry comes out. A little more back and forth. Sherry tries to distract Rich, which she would have done to precipitate the beatdown the week prior. She tries to distract Tommy Rich again. Except this time Rich doesn't fall for it, and we wind up with a standoff between Savage and Rich, but with practically no contact. And we've got the match now set up for the Rumble. The Intercontinental title match at the Royal Rumble is going to be champion Mr. Perfect with his manager Bobby the Brain Heenan, going one-on-one with beautiful Bobby Eaton. I want this match here because one is the IC title, and I want the IC title to be looked at as a true number one contender title. Also, I want to showcase Perfect, and there are very few wrestlers on the WCW roster that would be able to get in the ring and showcase with Mr. Perfect quite like beautiful Bobby Eaton. There are 2 that immediately jump to my mind, and they will be Perfect's first 2 opponents. Basically, we just see Bobby racking up wins. We'll get some promos out of Perfect. Um, on prime time, week 2, that Monday, after we see Bobby Eaton score another big win, we'll announce Mr. Perfect versus Bobby Eaton at the Rumble for the Intercontinental Championship, which leads to us getting some promos on the Funeral Parlor, on Wrestling Challenge out of Perfect and Heenan. Um, you know, Perfect gets when Perfect's wrestling after that, we see him in the ring after the match is announced. We'll get some 30-second spots with Bobby Eaton, because Bobby's not a great talker, but he can talk, and so we can probably get some quality soundbite promos out of Bobby. And then on the Go Home episode of Primetime, just as sort of a big Royal Rumble preview, we're going to get Bobby Eaton and the Young Pistols against Mr. Perfect and Power and Glory, which probably ends, admittedly, probably ends in some sort of count out or disqualification. I don't really want any pinfalls. If there is a pinfall, it's going to be one of the Young Pistols pinning somebody from Power and Glory. It's not going to be Eaton pinning Perfect. So, and it's not going to be Perfect getting pinned. I can pin half of Power and Glory because it's a 6-man tag, not a regular tag, and I can make it some sort of fluky thing because they're going to showcase a little bit at the Rumble. So, all the while that we're doing this, we're getting promos, like little 30-second spots, hype spots for the Rumble, all 3 weeks. People announcing that they're in the Rumble, cutting promos about the Rumble. Some of the guys that we see doing this, we get this out of DiBiase. Most of these people are picking up wins on TV. We get one from DiBiase. We get one from the Mountie. We're going to get one from The Undertaker. We'll get something from Demolition. We'll get something from Rick Martel. Something from the Nasty Boys. We're going to get something from Lex Luger and from Ron Simmons and JYD and the Steiner Brothers and things like that. So we're going to get a lot of these guys wins on TV, and we're going to get a lot of these guys talking about the Rumble and Tom Zink. So you can count on most of the roster getting to talk about the Rumble in little brief spots. The one that will be of interest will be when we see some of the Rumble number drawings. And we're actually going to see the drawings for the Rumble happen on prime time over a matter of weeks. So we're probably going to see 10 such promos each prime time leading into the Rumble. And one of the things we're going to see is we're going to see Sting probably draw his number on week 2, maybe 3. And when he pulls his number out, he's just going to look at it and smile. And he'll look at Sean Mooney or whomever's doing the interview. He'll just look at him and go, "And I wouldn't have it any other way," and walk off. As if to say that Sting is very pleased with his number. And when we see Perfect draw his number with Heenan, Heenan's going to look at the number and start to freak out. And Sting's like, "Champ, this isn't good. This is terrible." And have, Hennig look at him and go, "Bobby, don't worry. I'm perfect." And walk off. So it obviously has Mr. Perfect nonplussed. And we are going to showcase the hell out of Kurt Hennig at the Rumble. We're also going to see, over the course of this, we are also going to see Sergeant Slaughter basically putting over how he's not going to be defending the title at the Royal Rumble. We're going to get some promos as the Rumble gets closer with the question of, well, wouldn't you, with the former champion gone, he's no longer an issue, he, so on and so forth. The Ultimate Warrior's not here to claim his rematch, and that'll probably be the last mention we ever get of the Ultimate Warrior on TV. So there's a void for who is the number one contender. Wouldn't you assume, or I assume you're going to be watching the Rumble closely, because whoever wins the Rumble, certainly is making a case for being a top contender to your World Wrestling Federation Championship. Basically, we're going to allude to the fact that if you win the Rumble, you're getting a shot at the title without ever actually saying it. Because again, in 91, that wasn't a thing yet. And I'm not going to make it a thing because, again, that feels a little cheaty to me. In 91, winning the Rumble didn't give you a shot at the title. Now, in essence, that's exactly what it's going to do, but it's not an advertised part of the match. See what I'm saying? So, and Slaughter's just going to act all nonplussed. It doesn't matter who wins the Rumble. It doesn't matter who steps in the ring against me. I'm the world champion, yada, yada, yada. And we will see Slaughter on TV, on primetime in a non-title match once before the Rumble. He's going to take on Brad Armstrong. Brad Armstrong will have racked up some wins earlier. And the match with Brad Armstrong is not going to be uncompetitive. It's not going to be a squash. It probably gets about 15 minutes on TV, mostly showing Brad Armstrong's heart and resilience, and some fleeting moments of brilliance. And then, of course, he eventually fades out to the Cobra Clutch. Not the Atomic Noogie. We're not going to use the Atomic Noogie. It's the Cobra Clutch. So let's take a look at the Rumble itself. At the Royal Rumble, the Rock and Roll Express is going to go over on the Midnight Express in your opening contest. They're going to get about 15 to 20 minutes. Good hot opener. We're not having them go over with the double drop kick. It's just going to be a roll up of some sort. I don't want to use the double drop kick here. It's their finish. I don't want to beat the Orient Express with a finish, because this is not the last time these two teams are going to meet. It's only the first time. So I don't want, in the WWF at that point in time, hitting your finish and going over was almost like the definitive explanation point, and I don't want that yet. Sting's going to go over on Dino Bravo in about 10 minutes with the Scorpion Deathlock. We need to establish that Sting is a real deal. Power and Glory is going to beat the Young Pistols in probably 10 to 12 minutes. The Young Pistols are going to get their stuff in, but this is largely a showcase for the World Tag Team Champions. Randy Savage, the Macho King, is going to fight Tommy Rich to a double disqualification in about 5 or 6 minutes. And then you're going to get about 3 to 4 minutes of Afterbirth, which is just going to be brawl, 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 gaga, until Sherry provides a distraction and Savage breaks the scepter over Tommy Rich's head. And Tommy's going to get color off the scepter. It's going to be the only color on the card. But it's just going to be a complete brawl to the point that the ref has to throw it out. These two are going to be a showcase program for a little while. This is a match at Mania. So we really want to show some heat, some animosity, and put some steam on it. Intercontinental Champion Mr. Perfect is going to go over on Beautiful Bobby Eaton, clean as a whistle with the Perfect Plex in about 15 to 20 minutes. Solid match. The only instruction I would give them is go out and tear the house down. And give me the Perfect Plex more or less out of nowhere. And then we move on to the Rumble itself. So some stuff that needs to happen in the Rumble. I actually sat down to book the whole Rumble out and kind of map it, but ran out of time, to be perfectly honest. So here's what we're looking at for the Rumble. Number 1 in the Royal Rumble is Sting. Number 2 in the Royal Rumble is Mr. Perfect, who just got out of a 15 to 20 minute match with Bobby Eaton. Hence, you now know Heenan's concern from when Perfect drew his number. So they are your first 2, and they are part of your final 4. They're going to coast the Rumble. Neither of them wins, but they're going to be the sort of the coast to coast in the Rumble and your ongoing story throughout. We're going to have a couple of probably 3 moments in the Rumble where they're the only 2 in the ring. This is to set up a Sting Perfect program down the road. That this is certainly a direction we want to go, and we want to get the crowd we want to give them a taste of it without actually giving them a match yet. Power and Glory is going to look good in the Rumble as well. The Rock and Roll Express will probably eliminate Hercules with a double drop kick. Again, just to kind of perhaps lay a little groundwork for maybe the Rock and Roll Express being involved in the tag title picture down the road. Although the Orient Express will probably then eliminate the Rock and Rolls. We're going to have The Undertaker come in very late in the Rumble. By the way, Savage and Rich will probably both be in the Rumble. When Rich's number is called, he probably doesn't come out at first. It almost seems like no one's coming out. And then Rich would come out head bandaged, and he and Sauter will just simply eliminate each other and brawl to the back. Because again, I want animosity and I want it apparent. Ron Simmons is going to come in and have a strong showing. Lex Luger's going to come in and have a strong showing. We're going to get a good, strong showing out of DiBiase. DiBiase is probably in there fairly early as well. Same thing for Martel. These are guys that you can count on in the Rumble. I would say when we get down to it, number 30 is The Undertaker. When we get down to it, your last batch, when Taker hits the ring, we've probably got Brian Pillman, who's probably been in there for a minute at this point. We would have Brian Pillman, Sting, Ron Simmons, Martel, Perfect, and DiBiase. That's probably who's in when The Undertaker hits the ring. And Undertaker is going to indiscriminately start chunking people out. The only person he's not going to really eliminate out of this batch is probably Perfect. Sting's going to do that. So Perfect hits the ring and immediately shit cans Brian Pillman. Then he shit cans probably Martel. In the meantime, Sting will have probably shit canned DiBiase. And, well, no, Taker's probably going to shit can DiBiase. Sting will have gotten rid of Hennig. And then we'll probably get sort of a bit of a stare down moment between Taker and Sting. Let them boom, 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 boom. Let it look like Sting. Let Sting sort of get Taker staggered against the ropes. Hit the far side. Go for the clothesline. Here's your finish to the Rumble. Pound, 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 pound. Hits off. Goes for the clothesline. Taker staggers. Clothesline again. Taker staggers, this time to the rope. Go again. This time Taker back body drops Sting out of the Rumble. And as soon as he back body drops Sting out, here comes Ron Simmons. Big clothesline, and Taker goes out. Ron Simmons wins the Royal Rumble. The All-American Ron Simmons, who we will be calling the All-American Ron Simmons. And we'll play up the Florida State background, and we're going to do all of that. But Ron Simmons wins the Royal Rumble. To much fanfare and huzzah, one would hope. So what we've done out of the Rumble, we've laid some groundwork for Sting Perfect. We've teased Sting Undertaker. We're continuing the Orient Express, Rock and Roll Express rivalry, while at the same time showing a little dalliance that the Rock and Rolls could be in the World Tag picture. Savage and Tommy Rich we're going to turn this into a blood feud quick. We see Perfect and Sting both last a really long time in the Rumble. They get really deep. We're going to have DiBiase looking good. We're going to have Martel looking good in the Rumble. Luger's going to have a strong showing as well. We've shown a lot of heart out of Brian Pillman, because Brian Pillman probably comes in somewhere around 10. And we really get a lot of heart out of him. And then while we've teased Sting Taker, we are also teasing Simmons Taker by having Simmons be the one that eliminates him. And Ron Simmons winning the Rumble, after all the hoopla about whoever wins the Rumble has to be considered a top contender for the world title, we are laying the groundwork for Ron Simmons, Sergeant Slaughter, as a main event. So that kind of gives you some idea of the general direction I'm taking the World Wrestling Federation in 1991. When next we meet, next week, right here on the ECS network at 8:05 Eastern Time, Turner Time, if you will, we are going to go into February, and we're going to lay the groundwork for WrestleMania 8, or not 8, WrestleMania 7, and February is the main event. The main event was a TV special on NBC. It was not Saturday night's main event. It was just the main event. And I've got a couple of weeks to get there. So we'll talk about that and what's going to happen at the main event to build everything up and start rolling the ball toward WrestleMania. To give you a bit of a tease, this will probably be the first encounter of any kind between Ron Simmons and Sergeant Slaughter. Just to really stoke that as part of WrestleMania. So that's part of where I'm headed. So folks, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you think that would be a captivating card. Should prove interesting. Let me know what you think. For the purposes of this video series, you are the WWF universe, or I guess maybe we'll call you the ECS universe. Your reactions, your thoughts, your comments can help shape the direction of this version of the WWF in 1991. So, just like any good booker, you listen to the crowd. Not saying I'm a good booker, I'm saying I was a booker. And I do listen to the crowd. So, you guys tell me what you think and what you see. So, folks, until next time, please feel free to jump over to the ECS Network on Patreon and on Cafe Press to help support the ECS Network. Patreon.com/ECS Network, CafePress.com/ECS Network, and pick up a t-shirt, become one of our patrons. We're working on getting lighting for some of our off-site shoots when we're not here in the Denzicaster studio like we are today. Hope you enjoy all the other great shows here on the ECS Network. If you've liked this, like it, subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Until next time, folks, out of the booking office, I'm, well, Greg Hunter or Mike Brown, whichever you prefer, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.